Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on, everybody? This is Joseph Conlon coming to you with a special video today. A video that I really haven't done, I guess, ever on the Big Fight Field channel. Usually, I come on Sundays and I do rapid fire news. But I've decided that, I'm going to drop that. I'm going to drop rapid fire news, at least for now, because I feel like it hasn't been working out in my favor. It's Sunday, cool down. Not a lot of people watch it, so I feel like that it was the best to take it down, at least for now. And maybe I'll get back to it in the future. But today, for today we're going to talk about SummerSlam, man. SummerSlam is 4 weeks away on the WWE Network, August 23rd. And usually the past couple years, SummerSlam hasn't felt special, at least in my opinion. 2016 SummerSlam was very underwhelming. 2017 SummerSlam was freaking trash outside of the the Fatal 4-Way Universal Championship match that main evented with Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman, and Samoa Joe. That was one of my favorite matches of the year, actually. But that show, I don't remember that show being good at all. 2018 SummerSlam was decent. Not going to say it was bad, but it wasn't that good as well. It was a decent SummerSlam, a SummerSlam that I kind of enjoyed for the most part, but not really like the entire show. And then last year's SummerSlam. Last year's SummerSlam was honestly one of the worst SummerSlams I've ever seen as a wrestling fan for the amount of years I've been a wrestling fan. Just a build to last year's SummerSlam was god awful, with the stuff with Seth Rollins and Seth Rollins being a crybaby, and the whole Roman Reigns storyline, which was a whole mess, but he ended up not even wrestling on the goddamn show. And then I feel like last year's SummerSlam is going to be known for the debut of Bray Wyatt, because that was the thing most people were talking about after SummerSlam, was the debut of The Fiend, Bray Wyatt. And that's what came out of last year's SummerSlam. So that's SummerSlam the last couple years. And I wanted to talk about how WWE can make SummerSlam 2020 something special, something that they haven't done in the last few years. And I'm also going to give my match card prediction. So what I think WWE is going to make the match card for SummerSlam. But before we talk about everything SummerSlam, I need you guys to check out a few videos for me. If you have not already, check out my Monday Night Raw review from this past Monday. We go over the Raw after Extreme Rules. We talk about Dolph Ziggler getting another shot at the WWE Championship. Why? I still don't know, and tomorrow's the show. So it's that. AEW Dynamite review. We talk about the TNT Championship Open Challenge with Cody and Eddie Kingston. We talk about the Young Bucks versus the Butcher and the Blade, Falls Count Anywhere, which I actually heard, I believe it was yesterday, that match got over 1 million viewers. So congratulations to those two teams on that big accomplishment. And we talk about the return of Sammy Guevara in the Inner Circle. He helped Chris Jericho and Jake Hager defeat Jurassic Express. Make sure you guys go check that video out. And my NXT review as well. Keith Lee relinquishing the NXT North America Championship. And my baseball video that I did on Friday. I talked about the Phillies opening night against the Marlins. As you could see, I'm repping the Phillies shirt again today with the series finale against the Marlins today. I'll probably get done with this and upload it and watch the game. So that's that. And I also get my 2020 baseball predictions in that video as well. But let's talk about SummerSlam, man. How can WWE make SummerSlam special? I got 5 things. I was going to say 6, but I have 5 things on my notes that they can make 2020 SummerSlam special. The first thing I wrote is make the build feel important. Make it feel important. The last couple years, the build has not felt important, especially last year's build of SummerSlam did not feel important whatsoever outside of The Fiend versus Finn Balor, and that's really it. The other matches, like Seth Rollins and Brock Lesnar, I absolutely hated that build. Randy Orton and Kofi Kingston was decent. And then we had matches like Natalya and Becky Lynch and Charlotte and Trish Stratus, which the match was good, but I didn't really like the build for it whatsoever. It was just Charlotte calling out a legend and then Trish Stratus saying, "I accept." And then I don't even remember what else we had on that show. So, I remember not liking the build for last year. They got to make this year's build feel important, and the only way you can do that is by making Raw and Smackdown feel important and having those shows actually mean something and putting on at least decent shows every single week, which they should be doing. But yeah, that's the first thing I put. Make the build feel important, and the only way you can do that is by making Raw and SmackDown feel important on the road to SummerSlam. Number 2, matches that will make the fans excited and feel fresh. You gotta have fresh matchups in there. I feel like last year, Seth Rollins and Brock Lesnar again, I mentioned this, I was not excited by that whatsoever. Becky Lynch, Natalya did not have me excited for last year's SummerSlam. The previous year was freaking Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, which we've seen 67 times already, so I did not give a shit about that match either. And then I just didn't care about the matches for last year's SummerSlam. Outside of Bray Wyatt. But matches, you got to make the matches feel fresh. And I'll talk about matches that I think WWE is going to have in the match card predictions. But do I think it's going to be a good card for SummerSlam? I don't know. I have my doubts, but we'll talk about that later. But you got to make fresh matchups, and you got to make the matchups feel actually exciting. So, number three, be unpredictable. This is absolutely huge. Every single pay-per-view this year, maybe outside of the Royal Rumble, has been so predictable. And you really can't get excited for the show when you already know what's going to happen. You can't get excited for it. WrestleMania this year was one of the most predictable WrestleManias of all time, in my opinion. Last year's SummerSlam was one of the most predictable SummerSlams of all time. And it sucked. And every single pay-per-view, Elimination Chamber, Money in the Bank, outside of maybe Otis winning the briefcase, which I'll talk about later as well. Backlash, Extreme Rules, every single pay-per-view has been so predictable, and I hope WWE doesn't go down the same route with SummerSlam this year. They need to be unpredictable. They need a reaction from the fans like, "Wow, I did not expect that to happen whatsoever." So, it needs to come out of nowhere. Make it feel important. And like I said earlier, make it feel important and make the fans talk in like a positive manner. And like when you do an unpredictable outcome, you got to make it a good unpredictable outcome. So I have that. Number 4, I just really just said it. Have the fans talk in a positive manner and not a negative manner. In the past couple pay-per-views, I have a lot of people I see on social media, mostly on Twitter, are not happy with the WWE pay-per-view outcomes. No one was happy with WrestleMania. That show ended up being a failure. Absolutely nobody was happy with Extreme Rules. And even WWE knew that because they were ripping up scripts for last week's Raw because they were trying to shock us with whatever. And maybe in that script for last week's Raw, they put in Dolph Ziggler getting another shot at the WWE Championship. And I don't know who came up with that. Probably freaking Bruce. But that's horrible, you know? Why is I bring this up again. Why is Dolph Ziggler getting another WWE Championship match just because you have nobody else and you're too lazy? It's pathetic. And hopefully we get fans talking in an exciting manner, in a positive manner once the show is over. Make the show good. And then the last one I have is make it feel like the biggest party of the summer. That should be number one. But that's probably, I have it last on my notebook sheet, but that's the most important one by far. Make it feel like the biggest party of the summer. The last couple years, WWE has taglined SummerSlam, the biggest party of the summer. Has it felt like the biggest party of the summer? To me, no. 2016 was a complete mess. 2017 was not good. 2018, it was alright. Last year was not a party whatsoever. You ever have that feeling where you go to a party and you hang out for a couple minutes and for like the first hour or something, you're enjoying yourself, you're talking to people, and then a couple hours later you're just bored as hell and you want to go home? That's kind of how SummerSlam felt last year. It started off good with the Becky Lynch-Natalya match. I'm talking about last year's SummerSlam, by the way. You start off with the Becky Lynch-Natalya match, and then it just went downhill after that, in my opinion. So, please, make SummerSlam feel like the biggest party of the summer this year. That's the key thing. So, then I got match card predictions for SummerSlam, what I think WWE is going to do. I have 8 matches here that I think will probably happen. One thing WWE has done really good in the pandemic pay-per-view era is make the match card, I guess, have less matches. And I actually like that more than having a freaking 12-match card on a freaking Extreme Rules, or a 12-match card, or a 10-match card on Money in the Bank. They limit it to 7 to 6 matches, and I actually like that better than the overwhelming 12 or so matches. I actually like that so much better, and it just flows by so much better as well. But I have 8 matches for SummerSlam, and I think WWE Championship, I think we all know what it should be. Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre, that's what it's probably going to be. Randy Orton's supposed to be calling out his next victim tomorrow night on Raw to start the show. I hope it's Drew McIntyre, because no one else for Drew McIntyre makes sense other than Randy Orton. Randy Orton has been one of the best parts on Monday Night Raw for a while now, ever since the Backlash match with Edge, but he's been one of the best parts on Raw, and nobody else makes sense to face Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship at SummerSlam other than Randy Orton. Brock Lesnar. I don't even want to see Brock Lesnar face Drew McIntyre, because if he faces Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship, we all know what's going to happen, and it's the same old garbage. It's the same shit. If it's Brock Lesnar versus Drew McIntyre, we all know Brock Lesnar is walking out the WWE champion. So I have the WWE championship match being Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre. That's what it should be. But I guess we'll find out tomorrow night on Raw. And then Universal Championship. Do I even have to analyze this, detail this? We all know it's going to be Bray Wyatt, The Fiend, versus Braun Strowman. And The Fiend's going to beat Braun for the Universal Championship. And we're all going to be happy that Braun's terrible reign as the Universal Champion will be over. Thank goodness. Raw Women's Championship. I have Shayna Baszler versus Asuka. They showed Shayna last week backstage watching the match with, I believe it was Kairi Sane versus Bayley. There have been rumors that they're going to do an angle tomorrow night after the Asuka Sasha Banks match where Shayna Baszler comes in. She beats up Kairi Sane. She takes out Kairi Sane. And that's how we start the Shayna Baszler Asuka storyline going into SummerSlam. So I see it being Shayna and Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship. I pray. I like both Shayna and Asuka, but this one should go to Shayna. She should have won it at WrestleMania, and now WWE has to recover from their mistake and make Shayna Baszler the Raw Women's Champion at SummerSlam, in my opinion. I have a Smackdown Women's Championship match that I think is going to happen. Now, absolutely nobody deserves a shot at the SmackDown Women's Championship on SmackDown. Nobody. Lacey Evans, no. Naomi, no. Even though they're doing this whole hashtag, Naomi deserves better. Dana Brooke, no. Carmella, no. She has nobody. And I think they're going to be saving out Sasha Banks, honestly, until next year's WrestleMania. So, I don't think we're getting that match until WrestleMania of next year. So, you got to bring in a legend. You got to bring in a Hall of Famer to challenge Bayley. And who do I think it should be? Mickie James. I think Mickie James would be perfect. Should be a perfect challenger for the SmackDown Women's Championship against Bayley. It would kind of be the same situation as Mickie James coming to challenge Asuka for the NXT Women's Championship. I believe that was at TakeOver Toronto in 2016. It would be the same situation. Mickie James would come in. She'd probably lose to Bayley, and it would be another successful title defense to Bayley. I think it'd be good. And I think the match could be really good as well if they do it correctly. So that's who I think should challenge Bayley at SummerSlam, Mickie James. Raw Tag Team Championships, Andrade and Garza versus the Street Profits. I know it makes absolutely no sense. They're doing a triple threat number one contender match tomorrow night with Andrade and Garza, the Viking Raiders, and Cedric and Ricochet. Honestly, Cedric Alexander and Ricochet are the only team in this match that makes sense to win because the Viking Raiders had their shot. They lost twice to Andrade and Garza. Andrade and Garza just lost to the Street Profits last week. So what makes you believe Andrade and Garza are a credible threat to the Street Profits? So the only tag team in this match that makes sense is Cedric and Ricochet. But who's going to win? Probably Andrade and Garza because, WWE just doesn't make sense at all sometimes. So it'll be Andrade and Garza versus Street Profits at SummerSlam. You can count on that. Yes, I have a SmackDown Tag Team Championship match as well, and it's not the New Day versus Cesaro Nakamura. In fact, Big E is getting a singles run, which I'm a fan of. I'm totally a fan of that. So, who do I think it's going to be? all honestly, I think this one's going to go to Heavy Machinery. In my opinion, Otis and Tucker are still a tag team. They haven't been featured on TV lately. I don't know what's going on, but Heavy Machinery is still a tag team in my opinion. And they have no babyface tag teams to go up against Nakamura and Cesaro. So what a perfect time for Otis and Tucker to come in and win the SmackDown tag team titles at SummerSlam. And Otis can lose the contract because there's absolutely no point of Otis being Money in the Bank, even if we know that no one believes Otis is going to win the Universal Championship. Absolutely nobody. So why not just take the briefcase off in the match? He can even be a part of the Braun Strowman-Bray Wyatt feud. You can have Otis try to cash in on Braun Strowman. Bray Wyatt cut a promo on Otis. Try to get Otis to have a match with him and put the briefcase on the line. And Braun's like, no, don't follow his tricks. Don't do it. Then Otis does it. Bray Wyatt wins the contract. And then Bray Wyatt cashes in at SummerSlam as his match against Braun Strowman. I actually think it makes sense. So that's what I think should happen. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not, but that's what I think WWE might do. WWE might go to Heavy Machinery to go up against Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura at SummerSlam. And then quickly, I see Baron Corbin going up against Matt Riddle. And a tag team match, Seth Rollins and Murphy versus Rey Mysterio and Dominic. Originally, I wrote down Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins. That would absolutely make no sense. Yes, they have great matches together, but I would not want to see that again. I know you guys would not want to see that again. So I think the best thing to do is Seth Rollins and Murphy versus Rey Mysterio and Dominic in a tag team match, with Rey Mysterio getting his revenge on Seth Rollins by beating Seth Rollins and Murphy. Folks, that does it here today on the Big Fight Field channel. I want to thank you guys for watching this video. If you have not already, subscribe on the Big Fight Field channel for a fresh new week of content. I will be tweeting out this week's schedule later on tonight on my Twitter page, so look out for that. Comment down below what you thought. What do you think of my reasons for how WWE could make SummerSlam something special? And I want to know your match card predictions for SummerSlam 2020 this year. Like this video if you enjoyed what I had to say today on the channel. Follow me on Twitter at @Conlon_Joseph. And I'll be back to you guys tomorrow night with your Monday Night Raw review right here on the Big Fight Field channel. And it actually might be up a little late because I actually start football again. Yes, I go back to football tomorrow night, 6:30 practice. I've done at 8. I come home. I'll probably watch Raw around 8:40, 8:45. I'll still be tweeting. I'm not going to be tweeting live with all you guys, but at least I'll still be tweeting for Raw, and I'll be doing reviews still tomorrow night here on the Big Fight Field channel. So that's that. Have a good night. Stay safe, guys.